I sense these words being placed on my heart for the chosen one watching this today. And I want to begin with something very specific. Chosen one, there is something happening in your life right now that no amount of explaining has been able to name, and I want to name it for you. You know the feeling, the familiar things that have stopped fitting, the relationships that have quietly shifted in ways you did not choose, the version of your daily life that used to hold you and now sits a little off, like you are wearing something tailored for who you were, not who you are becoming. You have not done anything wrong. You have not missed a step or made a turn that sent you here by mistake. What you are feeling is not the signal of something broken. It is the signal of something being moved. God issued a relocation order on your life. He signed it before you understood what was happening. He drew the coordinates before the exits began, and every door that closed, everything that stopped fitting, every ending that arrived without your permission, these were not losses. They were the hands of a gardener who loves you, gently lifting your roots from soil that had given you what it was designed to give, and preparing you for ground that was cultivated specifically for who you are about to become. You are not lost, you are in transit, and your destination already has your name on it. Everything I am about to share with you in this message is freely given. But if at any point your spirit tells you that there is something more, you need something beyond what words can carry, you will find it in the description and the pinned comment below. Only follow that when you feel drawn to it, not before. And before we go any further, I want to say something to you. If you stay with this message until the very end, you are going to walk away with something real. You are going to understand 5 specific signs that confirm the relocation order is active in your life right now. You are going to understand why the old season had to hold you as long as it did, and what it was quietly building in you that you could not see from inside it. You are going to understand what 3 specific areas of your life will look like when you begin arriving at the place where you belong. And at the end, there is something else I want to share. Something that has to do with staying in the right frequency during a season like this one. Stay with me. What I am about to say matters more than I can tell you in the first few minutes. If I could see you right now, I believe you are sitting or lying in a space that is familiar to you. The walls around you are walls you know. The sounds are sounds you have heard 100 times before. And yet something is different. Not loudly different. Not in a way that anyone watching you from the outside would immediately notice. Just this quiet, persistent sense that the space you are in no longer fully holds the person standing inside it. Some things that look perfectly rooted from the outside are already being loosened from below. And that loosening has a name. Before this message ends, you are going to know exactly what it is. Let me start with something important. You have been trying to make sense of a feeling that was never designed to make sense from where you are currently standing. That is not your failure. That is just the nature of a divine move. You cannot read a full map from a single coordinate on that map. What you can do, and what I want to walk through with you right now, is read the signs. Because God does not relocate someone without leaving indicators. There are always signals that the order is active, that the move is in progress, that you are not spinning in confused circles, you are being carried forward. There are 5 of them I want to share, and I want you to receive them not just with your mind, but with something deeper, because at least 3 of these are going to feel like someone is describing your exact experience right now. The first is a weariness that sleep does not cure. Not the tiredness of someone who worked too hard yesterday. Something older than that, deeper than that. A bone-level fatigue that arrives specifically when you try to function in spaces that no longer carry your assignment. You wake up rested, and within an hour of stepping into the old routine, the old environment, the old way of moving through your day, something in you quietly drains. This is not illness. Your body is spending enormous energy, maintaining presence in a space it already knows you are leaving. It is the energy cost of staying somewhere you have already been called away from. The second sign is what I can only describe as a changed tolerance. Things that once felt neutral now feel draining. Environments you used to move through with ease now register as friction. Old conversations leave you emptier than they used to. Gatherings that once felt manageable now feel like too much. And you have started to pull back from the noise, from familiar patterns, from small talk that once felt harmless. Some people around you have noticed. Some of them have taken it personally. But here is what I need you to hear. This is not you becoming cold or ungrateful. This is discernment arriving. God changes your frequency before He changes your location. And when your frequency begins to shift, the environments that no longer match it start to register as something that does not feel right. That friction is information. It is directional. The third sign is a pull towards something you have not yet done, something that lives in you, like a restless tide that comes in, especially at night. In the quiet moments, when there is no noise left to distract you from it, you have ideas, impulses, a desire to make something, build something, step into something that the current location has absolutely no context for. You do not fully know what it is yet, but it keeps arriving. And you keep setting it aside because it is not the right time, or the right place, or you do not have what you would need. But the pull does not stop. What is pulling at you is not distraction. It is the calling of the next location, making itself known before you can see it clearly. The fourth sign is this: right information, arriving at exactly the right moment, too precisely to explain away. A message that reads like it was written for your specific situation. A conversation that opens exactly the door you had been quietly thinking about. A word, a moment, an encounter that arrives at exactly the time it was needed. Now, the logical mind does something predictable with experiences like this. It says coincidence. It says pattern recognition. But consider this: God does not wait until you have arrived at your destination to begin preparing you for it. He sends direction ahead. He sends signals. What you have been calling coincidence is the navigation system of a divine relocation, breadcrumbs from a destination that already knows you are coming. And the fifth sign, this one, is the quietest and often the most disorienting, is a kind of inner recognition. Moments that feel somehow pre-lived, not in memory, but in spirit. Conversations that feel familiar before they finish. A specific knowing that settles into you before the information arrives. Something in you that keeps saying yes before your mind has had time to process what it is agreeing to. This is not a psychological glitch. This is your spirit recognizing what it always knew was approaching. The chosen one being relocated carries something inside them that reaches toward the destination even before the path becomes visible. Let me pause here for a moment. Because if you have been recognizing yourself in what I just described, I want you to sit with that before we go any deeper. What you are carrying right now is not confusion. It is confirmation. Real confirmation, the kind that settles in rather than hypes you up, is not something to rush past. So just breathe for a moment. Whatever has been sitting heavy in you as you listen, let it be there. You do not have to fix it right now. You do not have to understand it completely. You just need to know that what you have been feeling has a name. And that name is not failure. It is preparation. Now here is what I really want to get to. Because recognizing the signs is only the beginning. What I want to show you now is something deeper. Why the place you are leaving had to hold you as long as it did. Because until you understand what the old soil gave you, you are going to spend your energy mourning the uprooting instead of preparing for the transplant. And you cannot afford that. Not in this season. The old location was not wasted time. I need you to hear that clearly. Whatever season you have been in, however long it has lasted, however many times you have questioned whether anything was actually happening, it was not wasted. God does not park his people in meaningless places. Every location, even the ones that felt like holding patterns, even the ones that felt like years of delay, was doing something specific in you that the next season requires. The first thing the old place was building was character. Not the kind built in comfort, the kind built in seasons when you had to keep showing up, even though nothing was visibly rewarding the effort. The patience that quietly developed, the ability to keep moving without applause, the deep interior knowing that something real was growing even when the surface gave no evidence of it. These cannot be ordered or manufactured. They were formed by the weight of the season itself. The second thing the old place was doing was clearing. Certain people can only walk with you through a chapter, not through your entire life. God knows who is built for the next season and who belongs to the one that is closing. As the relocation began, you started to feel it. Connections loosening, people drifting, relationships that once felt essential becoming quieter. This is not something that went wrong. This is something being ordered. The people who are meant for where you are going will be there, but they are not always the same people who were here before. And the third thing the old place was doing, hold this one, it was giving you something specific that you will need when you arrive. Skills you did not realize you were acquiring. Wisdom you will not recognize as wisdom until you are standing in the new location and it suddenly becomes exactly what the moment calls for. You were being equipped in a place that felt like a waiting room because what was being built in you required the exact conditions of that room. Now I want to tell you about someone, not someone famous, someone whose name I will not share because the privacy of what she walked through matters. But I want you to hear what she experienced because I believe it will sound familiar. She was 41 years old. She had built something real where she was a life, a community, a sense of self that felt hard-earned. And then everything started to shift. The job no longer held her. The city started feeling like the wrong address. The friendships that had anchored her slowly became something she could no longer sustain at the level they once required. And for 3 years, she resisted every sign. She told herself she was being realistic. She told herself she was honoring her commitments. But what she was actually doing, and she said this herself, was trying to reroot in soil that was no longer designed to hold her. I am going to tell you what happened when she finally surrendered. But first, I want to show you something about this pattern that changes the way you see it entirely. God did not move Abraham because Abraham had failed. God did not move Abraham because the old place was broken or wrong. God did not move Abraham because something was deficient in what had come before. God moved Abraham because what Abraham was becoming could not be contained by where Abraham had been. The formation was complete. And there comes a point, and God alone knows exactly when that point arrives, when the work of the old season is done and the relocation order becomes active. There is a word in the Hebrew, the original language of that promise, that I want you to carry with you. The word is nasa. It means to lift, to carry, to bear up. It is the word used when God moved his people. Not pushed, not dragged, lifted. There is a fundamental difference between being dragged somewhere and being carried. One feels like punishment. The other, even when it is disorienting, even when the ground beneath you feels uncertain, feels like arms underneath you that do not let go. What you may have experienced as upheaval in this season, the losing of what was familiar, the exposure of the in-between, may have actually been the hands of the Father lifting, not abandoning. This is what a transplant feels like from the inside. The pulling is real, the exposure is real. The strange disorientation of finding yourself with your roots briefly in open air, not yet touching new soil, reaching for something you cannot yet feel, that experience is real. But here is what is also real. The gardener does not let go during the transfer. Not for a single moment. The root system is held the entire time, and the new soil has been prepared and is waiting. The plant does not know this during the transfer, but the gardener does. Some plants cannot grow to their full height in the soil they were first placed in, not because the plant is broken, not because the soil was bad, because the plant has become something that requires more room than the current container can give. And a gardener who loves what they are tending does not watch it strain against boundaries that are too small. They transplant it into ground that was prepared for exactly what the plant has always had the capacity to become. I am going to finish telling you about the woman and what happened when she surrendered in the second part of this message, and I want to share something there as well. Something connected to what happens in the brain and in the spirit when you are in a relocation season like this one. Something that I believe is specific and relevant for where you are right now. But before we get there, there is a tool I want to briefly mention. It is called the Genius Song. I will explain it more fully in the next part of this message, because I want to give it the context it deserves. What I will say now is simply this. It is specifically designed to help the mind stay in a state of clarity and receptivity during seasons of transition, the kind of season we have been describing throughout this message. If your spirit is already leaning toward it, before I have even fully explained it, you will find the information in the description and the pinned comment below. But do not leave yet. Stay with what is coming next, because what I am about to tell you in the second part of this message is the piece that most people in a relocation season never receive, and it is the piece that determines whether you move through this with clarity or whether you stay in the in-between far longer than you have to. The relocation has begun. The signs are real. The formation was real. The old soil did its work, and the gardener has lifted you. But here is what I have not talked about yet, and I am going to be honest with you, because honesty is more useful than comfort at this point in a message like this. There is a force that works against the relocation, and it does not come from the outside, it comes from the inside. It is the grip that forms when you have worked hard for something stable and a part of you does not yet trust that releasing it will not mean losing everything. The grip on what you built, the grip on what you know, the grip on the version of yourself that felt safe inside the old location. I want to be clear about something. This grip is not your enemy. It is not sin. It is not disobedience. It is the very human response of a person who has earned what they have and does not yet fully see what is being offered in exchange. The plant does not want to be lifted. Its deepest instinct is to push further down, to reach deeper into the familiar soil. But deeper roots in the wrong soil do not mean flourishing. They mean more entrenched misplacement. And at some point, the gardener must do something that will feel to the plant like disruption, even though it is love. This is the part of the relocation that most people try to manage. They try to control it. They try to negotiate, keep this piece, change that one. Let me relocate gradually. Let me stay connected to the old while I test the new. And I understand that impulse deeply. Because from the inside, it feels like wisdom. It feels like being responsible. But what it actually is, when we are honest, is the grip of a soul that has not yet fully surrendered to an order that was already signed before the resistance began. Control is not strength in this season. Surrender is. And now I need to talk about something that is harder to name. Because beyond the grip on places and structures, there is another resistance that sits quietly in the chosen one being relocated. It is the guilt. The quiet, persistent guilt of someone who is being moved and who feels the weight of what that movement costs the people around them. The people who feel left behind when your frequency changed. The commitments that no longer carry your energy the way they used to. The version of yourself that others still expect because that version was reliable, was available, was consistent in specific ways, and you are no longer able to be that version without it costing something it never used to cost. The relationships you are not officially ending, just quietly unable to maintain at the level they once required. The communities you are not officially leaving, just no longer fully inhabiting. The promises made by a version of you that no longer fully exists, and the ache of not knowing how to honor them without betraying the person you are becoming. That guilt is real. I am not going to minimize it. It sits heavy, and it whispers something specific to the chosen one in a relocation season. It says, maybe this is not God moving me. Maybe this is just me being selfish. Maybe I am giving spiritual language to something that is actually just self-centeredness dressed up in the right vocabulary. Let me say this as plainly as I know how. Growth is not betrayal. Distance is not rejection. Becoming is not abandonment. The people who were designed for where you are going will understand, or in time they will. And the people who were only meant for the season that is closing, no amount of staying, will make the relationship right for what is coming. Not anymore. The season changed, and seasons do not negotiate. I hear the Father saying something to the one who has been holding on. I hear him saying, I did not ask you to let go of who you are. I am asking you to release who you were. And those are not the same thing. You are allowed to outgrow people who were built for an earlier version of you. You are allowed to step back from communities that cannot hold the next assignment. You are allowed to be unavailable for things that belong to the season that is closing, even if no explanation you offer will fully satisfy the people who depended on your presence. You are allowed to feel the grief of this and still keep moving. You are allowed to protect what God is building in you, even when you cannot fully explain what that is yet to the people who are watching. And you do not owe anyone an apology for a move that God signed before they were part of the equation. Now, let me finish the story I started earlier. The woman who built something real, who held on for 3 years, who told herself she was being responsible when she was actually refusing to surrender. Here is what happened in the moment she finally let go. She said it did not feel like a decision. It felt like a release. Like something she had been holding in clenched hands for so long that she had stopped noticing the tension, and then one day, she simply opened them. She stopped trying to convince herself that the old location could eventually become what only the new one was designed to be. She stopped trying to reroute. Within 18 months, everything had reorganized. She was in a different city, not one she had chosen strategically, but one that a door opened toward, and she walked through it. She was doing work that drew on gifts the old location had never had a channel for. She was inside a community that recognized something in her that the previous one had never quite been able to name. And she said something that has stayed with me ever since. She said, the hardest part was not the move itself. The hardest part was finally accepting that the version of me who could not let go was not protecting me. She was keeping me from myself. Her story is not a blueprint. Every relocation has its own coordinates. But what it shows is this. The moment of surrender is not the moment of loss. It is the moment the destination becomes reachable. Before I show you what is waiting at your destination, and I will show you, and it is specific, there is one more layer I need to pull back. Because what is waiting is not what most people imagine from where they are currently standing. The destination does not look like the old location made slightly better. It looks like something for which the old location never had a category. I want to show you 3 specific areas of your life that begin to shift when a chosen one stops resisting and begins moving into cooperation with the relocation. Stay with me for this. It is the piece most people in this season never fully receive. Let me talk about what begins to shift. Not as a promise about your specific timeline, I cannot make that promise, and I would not want to, but as a pattern. The pattern of what becomes available when the resistance gives way to movement. For those who are entering the arrival season, the first area is relationships. The connection that once cost so much, the constant effort of maintaining bonds that required you to shrink, to perform, to explain yourself endlessly, that cost begins to drop. Not because you have closed your heart to people, but because the people designed for the next season begin appearing, and the connection with them does not feel like work. It feels like recognition. They will see something in you that the old location could never quite name, and it will feel less like making a new friend and more like finding someone who has been speaking a language you thought only you knew. Do not try to recreate the old community template in the new location. Let the people coming be different from who came before. They were built for where you are going, not where you were. The second area is purpose. The work of the next season carries a quality the old season never quite had, not better in every external measure, but aligned in a way that makes it sustainable. It draws on the exact things that were quietly being formed in you during the long preparation. The skills that seemed random, the experiences that felt like detours. They become the specific toolkit for an assignment that could not have been handled by someone who had not walked what you walked. And when it arrives, when you are standing inside the work of the next chapter, you will feel something that is hard to describe to someone who has not felt it. Not excitement in the loud sense. Something quieter, a sense of finally, of being where the effort was always pointing. The third area is provision. What could not be accessed in the old location begins to open in the new one. Not because God was withholding it before, but because some provisions are tied to positions. When you are positioned where your assignment actually lives, the resources that the assignment requires become available in ways that were not previously possible. Do not bring the scarcity that formed in the old season into the new one. It was a response to conditions that are no longer your conditions. What felt like isolation was actually incubation. What felt like delay was actually development. What felt like rejection was actually redirection. What felt like silence was actually the sound of God surveying the territory ahead of you, walking through the rooms before you arrived, making sure what was waiting there was ready for what was coming. You were not being delayed. You were being deployed. And the soil God is moving you into it was cultivated before you ever knew you needed it. Before I share the last part of this message, I want to make sure what I have been saying has actually landed, not just as a feeling, but as something clear, something you can hold on to and carry with you. Here is the simple version of everything we have covered. You have been feeling out of place because you have been placed in a temporary location by a God who already has a permanent destination prepared for you. The disorientation was not evidence that he had left. It was evidence that he was moving. The 5 signs, the weariness that sleep does not cure, the change tolerance, the creative restlessness, the precise timing of information arriving, the inner recognition, those are not symptoms of a problem. They are confirmation of a process. The old season formed in you what the new season requires. The clearing of relationships was not abandonment, it was ordering. The guilt you have felt about the distance is not conscience condemning you. It is old identity trying to hold on. And the 3 areas shifting the relationships, the purpose, the provision, are not things you have to manufacture. They are things you move into as you move into alignment. That is all of this, stated simply. God is moving you. You are not lost. You are in transit. And your destination already has your name on it. Now, I want to talk about something specific to this season, because understanding where you are going is one thing, but staying in the frequency that allows you to receive what is coming, that is another thing entirely. Dr. Robert Lake spent 34 years studying what happens inside the brain when a person is trying to hear direction, trying to sense where they are being called, trying to receive the signal of what comes next, while the nervous system is still locked in a pattern built for survival. And what he found, consistently, across decades of research conducted in partnership with leading institutions, including MIT and Princeton, was this: there is a specific frequency of brain activity, a state he identified as the gamma state, that is directly associated with clarity, intuition, and what he called the mind's capacity to receive what the spirit is already carrying. In this state, people do not just think more clearly, they know more clearly. The inner signal becomes readable in a way it simply is not when the brain is running in a lower frequency. Dr. Lake called this the genius state, not because of intelligence in the academic sense, but because of what the word genius originally meant in its oldest form: the guiding spirit, the inner voice, the thing in you that knows the way even before the path is visible. Here is what the research showed about how that frequency gets lost. Every child is born with it active, but by around the age of 7, the conditions of modern life, the pressure, the constant demand for performance, the noise of a world that rewards reaction over reflection, begin to suppress it. And by the time most people reach adulthood, what was once the natural default has become inaccessible, not gone, but locked behind a survival mode pattern that does not know how to step aside. The researchers who documented this called it the decline effect. The genius frequency was always there, but the world taught the brain to operate below it. Dr. Lake spent the second half of his career developing a way to restore it, not through years of practice, not through anything complex, through a specific audio stimulus, carefully engineered to guide the brain back into the gamma state, to remind the neural architecture of a frequency it already knows, before the decline effect set in. What he created is called the Genius Song. It is 7 minutes of audio. You wear headphones, you close your eyes, and you listen. That is all. No technique to learn, no meditation required. The shift in frequency that occurs during the listening is not something you have to do. It is something the audio does. More than 18,000 people have used it. Fewer than 4 in every 100 have asked for a refund. That second number is the one I want you to sit with, because it means that the vast majority of people who tried this experienced something real enough that they kept it. The reason I am telling you about this now, in the middle of a message about divine relocation, is this. The gamma state is not just a cognitive state. It is a receptivity state. It is the state in which the signal of where you are being called becomes clearest. It is the state in which the signs I described earlier, the timing coincidences, the inner knowing, the creative pull toward what is coming, become not just things you feel, but things you can actually follow. A mind locked at a survival frequency cannot decode a clarity signal, no matter how strong that signal is. The Genius Song is a recalibration tool, a way of returning the mind to the frequency at which the Father's voice becomes most audible, especially during a season when everything around you is still uncertain. The standard price of the Genius Song is $49. For those watching this message, the price in the link below is $39. It is delivered immediately by email, a digital audio file. No shipping, no waiting, no complicated setup. And with it come 4 additional tools at no extra cost. An audio track specifically designed for children, valued at $19 on its own. The book that was the original source behind the film The Secret, valued at $20. A 22-minute guided visualization across 4 areas of life, valued at $29. And a practical reference of 5 daily habits that keep the gamma state active long after the initial reactivation, worth $12. Together, that is $80 in additional resources, included free with a $39 purchase. The math only goes one direction. I also want to say this. There are versions of this audio being offered in other places online from sources that were not part of the original research, that have not been produced to the same specifications. I would not point you toward those. The only trusted source is the link in the description and in the pinned comment of this video. It will take you directly to where this was made. That is the only place I am directing you. If what I have just shared resonates with you, if there is something in you that recognizes this as relevant to the season you are in, follow that. The link is waiting below. The Genius Song, only when you feel ready. And now, before I close this message, I want to take you somewhere, just for a moment, somewhere more important than anything else I could say with words. Wherever you are right now, I want you to imagine yourself standing at a threshold, a doorway between what was and what is coming. Behind you is everything you walked through: the old soil, the formation season, the things that were built in the difficulty, the things that had to release you so you could move. And as you stand there and look back at it, I want you to notice something. You do not feel regret. You feel gratitude, not for the pain, but for what the pain produced. For the person standing at this threshold who could not have existed without what happened in that season. Now look forward. You cannot see everything yet, but you see enough. You see that the ground ahead is real, that it is solid, that it was prepared before you arrived. And somewhere in the part of you that is beyond words, the part that recognizes what it always knew was coming, something settles. The soil ahead was cultivated for the specific thing that you are about to become. I hear the Father saying something to you at this threshold. I hear him saying, I have already been in that place ahead of you. I have walked through those rooms. I know what is waiting there, and I want you to know it is ready. You are ready. The order is signed. The destination has your name. Come, let that land in whatever has been tight in you, not with force. Just let it settle. That sense of rightness you feel right now is not wishful thinking. That is the chosen one recognizing the voice of the one who issued the order and finally knowing at a level below explanation that the move was never going to leave you stranded. It was always going to carry you home. Take one breath, and let it be the breath of someone who has just received confirmation of something they already, somewhere deep inside, already knew was true. Before we close, I want to invite you to do something with your spirit, not your hands. I want you to release the version of yourself that has been holding on to where you were, not harshly, not in a way that dishonors what that season built, with the kind of quiet, intentional release that a gardener offers when he places a root into new soil, a gesture that is simultaneously a letting go and a beginning. Whatever you have been gripping, the familiar, the known, the life that fit the you of 2 or 3 years ago, open your hands. Not because it was worthless, because it was complete. You are not the person who is stuck. You are not the person who missed something. You are not the person who ran out of time. You are the chosen one, and the chosen have always been a people of divine relocation. Abraham left Ur without knowing the full address of where he was going. Joseph entered Egypt without choosing it, and from those relocations came things that neither of them could have built in the places where they started. You are not lost. You are in transit. You are exactly where the hands of the Father have placed you between what was and what is coming. The order on your life is signed. The coordinates are set, and the ground you are being carried toward was cultivated before you ever knew you needed it. God of the relocation, the God who Nassa'd Abraham, who carried Joseph through Egypt, who has been lifting this chosen one through every uncertain step of this season, I ask that you confirm this word in the spirit of the one who has stayed with this message. Let the signs become clear. Let the resistance yield. Give them the courage of surrender and the peace of someone who has finally understood where they are going. Let the roots find the new soil, and let the flourishing begin in this season, in this next chapter, in the life that has been quietly waiting for who they have become. You are already taking root in the soil that was prepared for you. Even if you cannot feel it yet, the gardener sees it. Trust the gardener. Go well, chosen one. Your destination already knows you are coming. If this message confirms something you already knew but needed to hear, type these words in the comments right now. I am in transit, not as a wish, as a declaration. Let me see it below. And if there is someone in your life who has been quietly carrying the weight of a season that stopped making sense, someone who has been trying to explain to themselves why nothing fits the way it used to send this to them, before you close it, do not overthink it, just send it. The relocation order may be just as active in their life as it is in yours. If these kinds of messages have been finding you at the right moments, stay close to this channel. There is more here for you, and it will keep arriving when you need it most.